highlight on a couple key pieces, but first just to explain what Mr. Johnson said. Yes, today is the first day of high school athletics all across the state, so it's a very exciting day for us in the sports world. So all of our teams are going, or some of them actually did this morning, and next Monday the 17th is the first official day that our middle school sports team practice. The transition to the start of the season is always a chaotic time for parents and students, but with us using Final Forms, and I can't believe this is our 7th year that we've been using Final Forms, and I will say that Montague, we were the first one in the West Michigan Conference to sign on the Final Forms 7 years ago. So I mean, that has been a beautiful, beautiful product for us. I'm just going to highlight some key things because if you are a number person, then you have plenty of numbers and data to look at for a while because there's so much numbers and data in this year's report. So, but first thing, I just want to go to page 3, and I just want to focus on a couple of exciting things that happened to us this past year. Number one, by far, is our new gym. We call this a den. We are very proud and we are very fortunate to have a facility like this now for Montague, and the compliments that I've received over the past year have been just phenomenal. I mean, people love coming to events here, and now that we have a gym big enough to host all the events, even more people love to come. So, that's something that we are very blessed that we live in this community, and the community was gracious enough years ago to pass that bond. And the second highlight is we had another state champion this past year, Isaac French, won a shot put state title, which is pretty phenomenal because if you know Isaac, right, he's maybe 5'7", 5'8", about 170 pounds, and then if you were at the state meet, he was going against kids that were 6'3", 6'4", 250, 260, but yeah. He is a prime example of the perfect, you take a freshman, right? He's not very strong, he's not very fast, but he just kept working every day, getting a little bit better every year, and boom, he hit the ultimate goal. So that was very exciting for us in the athletic world. Another key point on page 4, again, it's something that we hang our head on as Montague. We had 7 teams earn academic all-state this past season. I think it's sometimes we take it for granted, but we're very lucky that our kids here, actually do the work in the classroom first and foremost. That's something like anytime we can get one, but we had 7 of our teams earn academic all-state. Another highlight I want to point out, if we go to the next page, on page 6, again, you have plenty of numbers to look at. Another thing we're pleased is we had 60% of our students last year in the high school participated in athletics, which yes, so we had 236 out of 401 students do at least one sport. So, that's something that we are very happy. Our goal is we want kids to be out. We want kids to participate in athletics. We want them to participate in any extracurricular activity, because the more kids we have involved in our school activities, the better our school will be. We've also seen an increase in the number of 3-sport athletes. That's a big thing that I push. I really push our kids to be 2, 3-sport athletes because, we are a small school of 400 kids, and we need those kids to be 2, 3-sporters. And then, of course, the last thing I want to highlight down at the bottom, we hosted 227 competitions in the high school last year. That was our most that we've ever hosted in a 5-year period. But of course, when you have a new gym, you get everything, right? Because we hosted volleyball districts last year, which I don't know the last time if we've ever hosted volleyball districts here prior to the new gym, because they're still in the and we also hosted boys districts, which I think the last time we hosted boys districts here was, it was probably 15, 20 years ago. So, yeah, and if you were at some of those boys games, it was a great atmosphere. And again, we have a facility now, and my goal is, hey, we'll host. I love to host events. I think it's great to bring people into our community, and just kind of show people what we're about, because they're just saying, right, athletics are the front porch coming to the school, right? Because most people are going to come to the school probably for some type of event, right? Maybe a band, choir concert, athletic event, right? So that's the first impression that a lot of people get. If you go to page 9 and 10, let's see, jumping around a little bit here. I just want to give you on page 9, so this is year 5 coming up of the West Michigan Conference, you know, the new West Michigan Conference. So this year, Hart is going to the lakes and Manistee is going down to the rivers. In our Constitution, we have it where we look at the school enrollment, you know, the 3-4 year average, and then at the time when we made the decision, Hart was higher than Manistee, so Hart's up and Manistee is down. So, you know, like, and we are the second smallest school in the lakes, and I really foresee ourselves being in the lakes forever. I mean, let's hope we don't go to the rivers, that means that we're losing students, and we don't want to lose students here. Yeah. But that is, you know, that is the only change, but we will continue to play Shelby, Ravenna, North Muskegon, and a lot of those sports. People say, well, why are you playing those guys? Because, like, for example, we've been playing Ravenna since 1969 in football. We've been playing Shelby and North Muskegon probably longer than that. So we're going to keep playing those local schools that we have great ties with. And if we go to page 10, kind of what we added this past year, we really didn't add anything new. We just tried to continue doing what we've been doing. I mean, the one is our coaches have been really great of being willing to go get professional development. There was another CAP training session this past week down at Oak Ridge, and we had 7 of our coaches actually gave up a full day Saturday to put on there and get some more advanced training. So, I mean, that's something I've made a goal for our coaches. I thought, hey, you know what, we want to help you get better. So, and they have bought in. Second one, you know, year 2, we just finished up our year 2 of our CAT Summer Edge strength and conditioning program. Again, we had a great turnout. We had well over 100 6th through 12th graders participate in that. And then, of course, we're continuing with our district-wide branding. You know, I'm a big brand guy, you know, so I want to get as much stuff at all of our facilities as possible. So when people come to events, they kind of know, hey, they're at mine. And then a couple big things for this year is we are going to begin the process of getting an athletic hall of fame started. I think it's long overdue. I think we've had a proud history of great teams and great individuals in this district, and it's time that we really begin to acknowledge them. So we've had some couple of beginning planning meetings, but you know, now we're at the point where, okay, we need to get rolling. And, so our goal is that hopefully probably this time next year, you know, have that kind of up and running. The big thing is, you know, finding the time of year, you know, when to do ceremony. Plus also, you determine who's going to be in that first class, because there are a lot of great teams and great individuals. And also another thing we're very excited about, we're going to have a student leadership program. We were able to have a first hour class. It's an advanced strength conditioning class, and we're going to put some leadership component in there. Actually, that class is starting at 7, so like these students are coming in at 7, from 7 to 8:30. So I'm going to be working with Mr. Coach. You know, they're going to be our higher level kids for athletics, the strength, and then we're going to really incorporate some kind of leadership training in there with those kids. And then the last part, pages 12 through 16, I do believe last year, I think Mr. Rath asked, hey, you know, could you share, you know, some like 5-year data? And so these are all the numbers that we've had for the past 5 years, from anywhere, our total number of sports participation, home events, away events, the awards. I mean, so if you are a number person, then you will love to see this. Yeah, which I mean, when I was putting this together, like, I actually noticed some really good trends that I really didn't realize. Well, hey, you know, like, we have some positive trends. A few things is our total number of athletes here at the high school has been very consistent. We've been like about 232 kids for the past 5 years have been involved in athletics, which is very encouraging, because I think today, being a teenager, it's very tough, and you got a million different things pulling you in a million different directions, and we're fortunate that our kids still want to play sport and represent Montague. And actually, our numbers at the middle school have been increasing, so that's even more exciting that, hey, we want kids to do stuff. And, you know, again, we are hosting more, but again, we have a new gym, we tend to get more events and more events for the state. So, any questions? I mean,
Question.
yeah.
So GPA.
Yep.
Pretty noticeable difference between student athletes and non-student
Yep.
athletes. Is there any correlation to multi-sport athletes?
You know,
were
that's a
saying
great
you really would like to
question.
get people to do more than two, and I was
Right.
thinking you were gonna say because it was so good for their
You know,
scholastics.
without running the numbers again, I would dare to bet that probably our 3-sport athletes are probably gonna be our kind of athletes with the highest.
It just is,
Yeah.
it's counter, like, because you think, oh, they're so busy, they can't do it, but they're just focused, right?
Yeah.
They prioritize time.
Right, and as much as kids complain about structure and format, kids love structure. They may whine to you if you have and some of you have teenagers like myself, and you know they whine, but they need that structure. But Joel, I'll do some more digging into that. Yeah.
Can you explain any more about the student leadership program? That
Yeah.
sounds like a great.
Yeah, so you know, and that's something that kind of came out of a brainchild of Phil Coates and myself. You know, we started to talk last year. You know, like he's doing a great job of getting our strength conditioning program of like level of where we need to be, because we were behind and we're still a little bit behind, but we're starting to close the gap with other schools. And then we were talking with other varsity coaches, like the kids, there was a gap, something we weren't getting, and we figured out, hey, you know, we need to give our, you know, student athletes, some leadership skills and training, because it's tough, you know, your sport, and you're gonna have to say, hey, Doug, you're gonna be a captain, and then like our kids, okay, our kids really don't know, you know, what it means, you know, to be a leader in that aspect. I think too many times coaches, and even me myself, we just assume, hey, you know, you've been playing sports forever, so you must be a leader. Well, these kids don't know. So no, we are very excited about that, and I think last I checked, we had about 20 kids that were signed up for that. So yeah, and I know that more and more kids are wanting to take PE, you know, because they really like, you know, the whole focus on, you know, really improving their health and getting stronger. Yeah. Plus, it's nice we have a beautiful new weight room that we can accommodate those numbers.
All right, thank you, Jay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
Yeah, well done. Next on the list, we have Steve Denniston, technology update.
Would you mind recording? Just make it going.
Sure. Do you have to push the thing, or is it going?
We are having some technical difficulties with recording, so I'm going to record with my phone and kind of go with the flow here. I had a presentation, but it took a while to get pulled up, so I'm just going to kind of just share with you just some things going on with technology right now. Back in January, we mentioned to you that we are
I'm good.
we applied for some E-rate funds from the federal government. And we have learned that the major project, which is the access points for our wireless system, has been approved. I believe also our internal fiber, you know, here at the high school and NBC, has also been approved. And so we are in the process of getting that started. We probably won't have it done before the start of the school year because it took the federal government too long to get it processed and get it ready for us. But we're trying to figure out the best way to make this happen. The stadium fiber, that has not yet been approved. We think it's just because they have a new system at the federal government. It's just taking them a lot longer than normal to get those approved. But we do know we're a good start. Printers and copiers, those were installed about 2 weeks ago. Stacy did a lot of great work in getting it started and getting the whole process of the RFP and that kind of thing. And then I was involved in getting them actually installed and getting them configured and that kind of thing. So that's a good thing. We've had no issues with them so far. I haven't heard of any at least. So that's, if I don't hear about it, that's a good thing. So that's good. This year, we are implementing, Google is always changing the way they do subscriptions. And this year they changed it to where it's basically all or nothing. You get what's called Google Plus, which is all the features, or you get fundamentals, which is free, but you don't really get anything. So we signed up for Google Plus, and with that, we are gonna get some unique, or some pretty neat teacher tools that I just wanna kinda talk about. Now, part of this process was, last spring, I sat down with the principals and with Jeff, and we took a look at the software programs that we have. Now, software is done different. Now, it used to be you could buy a software, once you buy it, it's yours. And now they've gone to the model of everything is subscription, because they want their money every year. And so, we took a look at the different subscriptions that we had, the different programs we had, and we found that Google Plus basically offered the same thing as some of the things we're also paying for in addition. And so we've made some changes. We're eliminating some software programs and replacing them with Google Plus. And the other thing about Google Plus, it ties in with everything we're doing. Google Classroom, Google Mail, everything we're doing here is basically Google. So some of the things that are going to be available to teachers is going to be what's called originality reports. So basically, if a student is trying to plagiarize, this will detect plagiarism. It does not detect AI, but there are ways to create an assignment that will hinder or discourage the use of cheating, or the idea of cheating with AI. In other words, you don't want students to wait until the night before to write the report and then go into AI. By setting guidelines or setting benchmarks along the way, it's going to prevent that from happening. And so, but originality reports will detect plagiarism of things that have already been published. YouTube Interactive is basically replaces Edpuzzle, and what it does is basically you take a video and teachers can then insert questions throughout the video. Pauses the video, students have to respond to the question that's based on the previous segment of the video they just watched, and then they can proceed to the next part. So it's an engagement instead of just kind of turning their brain off and just watching the video. Practice sets are a good way for students that practice what they've been learning, and that's available in Google. Google Vids. Google can now, you can create videos with Google, and it replaces Screencastify in our district. It's a savings for us. They have another program called Read Along, and that's more for the elementary level, but it can be used even in special ed at higher levels. But as a tech director, what I love the most, it's got some really great security features. Things that haven't been available before, that we're going to be able to implement and make our Google's environment more secure. And that's pretty important to me. I also want to tell you that there's a thing called the Michigan Student Data Privacy Consortium. And what this is that a bunch of districts in the state, actually it's nationwide, they've created these agreements with different companies who provide software or apps and that kind of thing, so that basically we're going to be protected in case some information, student data, is released to the public that shouldn't be released. So by signing on to these agreements, we don't have to individually go to every single app that we have, create and contact them and try to get this all set up. We can go to this consortium and say, okay, we want to sign on for, let's say, Adobe, as an example. It's already created, we just sign on with our name, and we're covered by everything in this agreement, the same agreement that's used all across the nation. Now, this is still in the early stages of developing, because teachers a lot of times will find these cool apps and they download it, and they just, when it comes to the terms and service, oh yeah, click, and it's signed. Well, what they don't realize a lot of times, it says we can share our information about our students and whatever with these companies, and we don't want that to happen. So basically, this will help protect us, so that if for some reason one of these companies releases or somehow is hacked and this information is released, we're not going to be responsible for it. It's going to protect us. And this is happening. I know there's a few districts coming on board. I think we're one of the first ones in the county to be doing this that I'm aware of, and so that's a good thing. I think it's happening. Basically 22 states currently have it. It's currently required that people sign on to this. Michigan's not one of them, but I still think we wanna get on board with doing it. In the past few months, we've been approving some different purchases for technology. We've got some new Chromebooks in, we've got them all processed in the classrooms. We just received our iPads for our kindergarten students. We haven't processed those yet, but we've got 3 weeks to get that done. And then we've received the phones that you just approved, I think at the last meeting, that we're gonna be implementing it. We gotta wait for the ISD because they need to do some things at their end to make this work. And right now they're working on Orchard View, and I think Ravenna's next, and then we're next in line. So probably more like October, November before we actually implement them. But I ordered them last month because we're hearing about price increase. And so I wanted to beat the prices going up. So let's end up with some good news. And this we just found out a couple of hours ago. We recycled last year several Chromebooks. And we just found out that from the recycling these Chromebooks, our district's gonna receive $16,114. Plus, and I don't have the number yet, we've got some iPads that were out of end of life, yeah, thank you. That we, obviously end of life, you can't run updates. We're gonna probably get 10, 12,000 out of those as well. And part of this is because we were jumped on the ball and got ahead of other schools, so the market wasn't saturated yet. So I think that's why we're getting the better prices. So that's good income coming into the district. So a lot of things happening. It's gonna be crazy the next few weeks, but we're gonna be okay. Do you have any questions?
That's a good update, thank you.
Thank you.
See how steady Jesse is. All right.
All right, well, thank you, Steve, for the tech update, and on to new business.
On to new business. Perfect. First item, new business, consideration of approving the administrative salary schedule. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, it's been moved and supported to approve the administrative salary schedule as presented. Discussion.
So the salary information for the 26-27 is consistent with the amounts approved by the board last August. We've had a few new hires and have inserted their starting salaries in that, being the executive administrative assistant, NBC principal, maintenance coordinator. What we have done as a placeholder is for the 27, 28, and 28, 29, we put the superintendent increase for myself that was put in on the last contract, which is in line with the board approved contract, along with all other administrators are scheduled to have that 1% raise like we have done in the past, and then we bring this to the board yearly. All these amounts for future years will be revisited once we have a better grasp of our financial position as it relates to the recent released state budget. We're also going to be negotiating with 2 other groups as well this coming spring, so that will be a part of that as well. Any changes to the schedule for future years will be brought to the board, like I said, in that yearly update.
Any questions? Comments? All right. All those in favor of approving the salary schedule as presented, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Item 8B, consideration approving the hiring of Megan Van Bergen as an elementary teacher at RRO. Do I have a motion for that?
Make a motion. Support.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hiring of Megan Van Bergen. Discussion.
So she comes to us from Aquinas College with a bachelor's in elementary education. She does come with 1 year of experience at the Knapp Charter Academy. She's a Forest Hills Eastern graduate and is moving into the area. Moving forward, she would be at our first grade level.
Do we have any other experience just outside of that? No, she was student teacher, yeah, this is.
No, correct. Nope, she's student taught at Collins Elementary in Forest Hills and did some other work at Harrison Park Academy prior to that in her times.
How did she find this?
She is moving into the area.
Gotcha, okay, so she's looking for employment in this
Correct.
area.
Correct.
Just curious to know, what our appeal is in the area, so.
Sorry, Jeff, did you say she's going to replace the fourth grade?
First switch.
Alright, any other questions or comments? All those in support, say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed say no. Motion is approved. Item C, consideration of approving the hiring of Mary Ribeck as an agri-science teacher, at MHS. I have a motion for that.
So moved.
Support.
Alright, it's been moved and seconded to approve the hiring of Mary Ribeck as the agri-science teacher at MHS.
So, yes, Mary, this is going to be her first teaching assignment. She comes with a bachelor's in agricultural extension and education with a minor in international agriculture from Penn State University. She comes highly touted from some of our FFA connections that we've had over the years as far as some of our national conventions and work. The student teacher, head of the student teacher program, we had reached out to as we were looking for individuals. So she has never been to Michigan, but she's coming now, and so
That's
she did
international.
student teacher. Right? Yeah, right, exactly. So she is coming from. She's in her student teaching at Penn Manor High in Millersville, Pennsylvania, and she has a number of different ag experiences throughout her time.
She found us because I'll say recruited her, so maybe do it.
We were making sure that the world of FFA student teachers, Michigan State obviously has a very strong program, Penn State is another very strong program, and we are making sure that we reach out to them when we have a program.
Well, we lost two though, right? So we're
Correct.
replacing
Correct.
one,
We
so
are
are we still in
replacing
the
one.
hunt for another one?
No, not at this point.
Okay.
We are going to add a teacher that we haven't finalized things yet, but just as
As a
a
science?
part-time science.
Okay.
Really was going to come on as a permanent sub throughout the district, and we will then work into a science 2 classes to make sure that the program and the science classes can both be at the middle school and high school level. So it was part of our process as we are trying to right-size the district of staff-wise. There was a couple positions at every building that we are not rehiring back, not necessarily letting go of people, but not hiring back those positions.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say yes.
Yes. Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Item D, consideration to approve staff member 1-year leave of absence request. Do I have a motion? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Alright, it's been moved and seconded to approve a 1-year leave of absence for Hillary Kylie.
So Hillary was with us in the counseling office last year. She did an absolutely outstanding job when she was able to be here. There was some health illnesses within her child and within the medical team. It was best that she not be with her child or be with her child and not here at work. Mrs. Snowman speaks very highly of Hillary and would love to see her back in our district again at some point in time, but not knowing when that would be. And as she says, in full transparency, this might not ever come back, depending on the health as she's raising her children. And Christy hoped that we would bring this to the board just as a possibility if things were to improve.
So in the meantime, for her position, would that be something that would be subbing out?
We already have a individual, and as a plan working on down the road, Mr. Patton is not saying we're there yet, but yet at the same time we want to make sure that we have good
He's at
counselors
home.
and training down the road in the future as well.
So we have somebody to fill this
Correct.
position?
Ross.
It's a little different position.
Little different, but yes,
Okay.
the same in the
There won't
counseling
be a
office.
hole necessarily.
There's a hole. Is Catherine Ross?
Lauren.
Ross, jeez.
Oh, yeah.
Lauren Ross, as she's also the girls basketball coach, so
Okay.
does some things that are the same, some things that'll be different in that process as well.
But Rob will have support and another
Correct.
person.
Rob
so
and
this-
another
this is a
person
big thing.
as Lauren
Okay.
Ross, where this was Kylie. Kylie has different certifications and she's a licensed social.
How does it work in the event that she returns? Does that displace somebody?
We don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, so is it possible? Maybe. I don't think so with some of the at-risk and dollars that we've used in that process. We can always use additional support in those. I don't believe that it will, but it could. You're right.
What's our obligation in this by extending leave of absence? We guarantee this person employment when they return.
Correct.
That's the plan.
Correct.
So we would have to
Find a position for her if you grant this, if she's wishing to return.
Agreed. Is there, so the current backfill situation is Patton plus Lauren Lawson. Is Lauren's position not technically to include this, so she would be able to do her full-time tasks, doing something else or in addition to?
Lauren's position is a little bit different. A licensure social worker is obviously a lot, very highly touted, and it's hard to find these instances, so that's part of work as well.
Is there, we have financial obligations if we extend this? Is there health insurance or any of those?
Not at
things?
this point,
Just
no.
a pure, we're gonna hold your spot as if you are.
You're done, and we will reach out and talk at the end of this week.
Okay. Is there anything from a, what do you call it?
Precedent setting?
No, I'm trying to think. She's a member of, I'm guessing a member of the, union? How does that?
So,
Contract, where
so
is that?
it's interesting. It's a position that is semi-invited but semi-outside as well.
Okay, so there's not language that covers it, or is just another administration? Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor of approving a one-year leave of absence for Hillary Kiley, say yes?
Yes.
All those opposed say no. All right, the motion is approved. Item E, consideration to approve course catalogs, as included in Google Drive. Do you have a motion?
Support.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 2026-2027 course catalogs classes for MCBA virtual for grades 6 to 12 as presented. Discussion.
So at the last meeting, when we did the course catalogs, we did the K-5 virtual side of it. We neglected to put it in the folder. So when you approved, you filled just the course catalogs minus MCBA. So we wanted to make sure you saw and have that in those course catalogs.
So we
Best
sort of
practice as
intended to. Did.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Physical education, I think I know, but how do they complete that online? Like, and know that, because it's saying like warm up, aerobic activity, cool down, like how are they making sure that they're doing that?
That's a great, really question. I would think that there's probably cameras involved, but with the MCBA, they do have
Okay.
set
Video
times
themselves.
where they video themselves
Okay.
in that process. So I'm
Okay.
guessing it would be through their camera. They have to show that they're doing this. They have to keep logs. They might have to get a signature from somebody.
Sure,
Just
okay.
depending on the situation. But
Yep.
yes, it would be the idea of video.
How do we
for some-
verify that?
We don't, the teacher does.
I'm sorry, how do we make sure that that's happening? I guess is just the question, like, is that a phone call you can make?
Yeah,
Or just
for sure.
follow up?
That's
Yep.
actually
Yep.
part of
Yeah,
how.
I just, I'm guessing you're right.
Yeah, correct.
Well, I see it says health later, like
Yes.
there's a middle school health,
Yep.
which I feel like it's easier to make sure they're doing
Yep.
that in the physical.
Oh, absolutely.
But I
So
took
you're
an
saying
online
online.
PE class in
Yeah, just
college.
talk to the principal.
Yep.
Maybe not. I just was curious at this level. The A though. Yep.
I'm sure you're right. but I
Yep.
guess it's- All right, any other questions? All right, all those in favor of approving the course catalog as presented, say yes.
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 All those opposed say no. Motion is approved. Item F, consideration of approving a voting delegate and an alternate for MASB delegate assembly.
So moved.
We need to,
Yeah, we need to put names
with some names in there. So before we go there, do we have a precedent for last?
So last year, Karen was our voting delegate, and Amanda was our alternate delegate. This is the 2026 Delegate Assembly, which is Thursday, October 15th at 7 p.m. at the Lansing Center. So it is a little bit of a drive. Obviously, there are processes that if that
Can you repeat that date?
Thursday, October 15th.
At 7?
At
7 p.m. Yep, in Lansing. All delegates must be school boards, and so really, all of you could go to this, as it is a delegate assembly, but the request is to have one to work as a voter within that. All delegates must be certified and submitted by Thursday, October 1st. Link to, we'll get a lot more information, and we'll really talk about what's going to be a part of that at a future meeting as well.
Are you two willing to do it again?
I'll do it one more year.
So I would make a motion that Karen Newell would be the voting delegate and Amanda Dow be the substitute alternate to represent the district at the MASB delegate assembly.
Support?
All right, it's been moved and seconded. To designate Karen as the voting delegate and Amanda as the alternate to represent the district at the MASB delegate assembly. Any other discussion beyond what we just stated? Is there other information? Will we have information prior to that?
Correct.
On
Yep.
what we want
Correct.
the voting delegates to, how they should represent us?
And then, yeah, they'll send it to me and then everybody else.
Yeah. Awesome. Any other discussion or comment? All right, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed say no. Motion is approved. Item G, consideration approval of bids for the MHS agriculture classroom and barn. Can I get a motion?
So moved as presented. Support?
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the bids for the MHS agriculture classroom and barn. As presented, these costs will be paid from the 2022 capital projects fund and sinking fund. Discussion.
So on Wednesday, July 29th at 2 p.m., we did have bids all in. We worked with Lindbergh Construction and Tower Pinkster to collect all those bids. We then, on August 3rd and 4th, that next Monday, Tuesday, we had meetings all day with all the individuals that were low bids in those awards, and had a number of different construction meetings with them to make sure that the numbers were accurate and that they had a full understanding of the scope and sequence of the work. So you can see Tom and myself sat in with Lindbergh Construction and architects from Morey from Tower Pinkster, and then depending on what meeting it was, other engineers in that process. So we did try to create a little rendering as to what, obviously it's not going to look exactly like this, but it gives you kind of an idea of what that might look like. Obviously we put Montague Ag Store on the front of that. That won't be how it looks, but we just needed something that we will have some kind of labeling there. You can see it from the west, from the south, from the east, and from the north. There will be inside, obviously, a large barn area, then a classroom learning environment, we'll call it, and then into a storefront area where one could walk in. And what that all looks like and how that all works as we move forward, we will continue to navigate through that. But the idea would be at some point for when we have our chickens and when we have the flower sales and we have Montague gear at different times throughout the school year, that would be an area where the public can go. Maybe even on their way to a event, a football game or a softball game or a cross country meet, that would be an opportunity as well.
How about the monies that are coming from the sinking fund? How much is coming from the sinking fund? Do you have?
Let me see here. We see here, advance and bid tabulation. Off the top of your head.
So our attorney has said that at least $1 from each subcontractor needs to come from the sinking fund in order to allow it to not be a, what am I thinking?
Illegal misuse of sinking fund
No,
dollars.
it'd be, there's that wage that we have to pay.
Oh, prevailing wage.
Yeah,
Prevailing wage.
so I have to at least $1 pay each category here for it to not be prevailing wage. So we can talk to the building and site committee. I think it needs to be a little more than $1, but, maybe some sort of very small percentage, I would say probably not more than, I think $30,000 from the sinking fund, unless you do 20 to 30,000, I was thinking.
Okay. It's not that
It
we're
is not
running out of
extension.
money, so we needed to drag it from the sinking fund. That's
Well,
not what we're doing.
No,
Okay.
no.
Who's on the building and whatever committee? I can't remember.
City is,
Okay.
Ben is.
Amanda?
And then, okay.
Yeah, so we will be, firming up our numbers with audits, see what's left in the sinking fund, see what kind of taxes we'll be getting this year, we can decide what our priorities are, and then from that, we can decide a number that we'll allocate to this fund.
Okay. So I'm looking at the drawings. The south elevation, so that's like if I was walking down Stanton, the sidewalk, and looking at the storefront, right?
Correct.
How close is that to the sidewalk? Do you know, is it set off a ways?
I do, I do.
trees there, so
I do know, it's a sidewalk that goes into it.
There'll be a sidewalk
Yes,
from the
correct.
main.
From the main
Okay.
sidewalk that goes in, correct. It is
Okay.
not a sidewalk from the parking lot area though. The
Sure.
idea would be to come from the parking lot, there'll be a sidewalk that goes in off the parking lot to get to the main sidewalk to go back to.
Okay.
So when, from the parking lot, you're gonna run out to Stanton, down.
Down
and
the
then-
sidewalk and in that way, from a public standpoint.
Sure.
Obviously, there's other doors and different things. There's
Yeah.
gonna be a gravel drive that goes into those garage doors on either side as well, both on the west and east side.
So how close is this then to like the baseball practice facilities and that kind of stuff?
We're trying to keep it as centrally located as we can. I could provide some drawings exactly, but just, if you think there'd be some pendant grassy areas around each of the north side, a small little section on the east side. We're looking at the west side as potential, but right now that would be where the majority of the drive is for a lot of the work coming from the high schools coming in. So.
Sure.
Pendant for animals, is there?
Correct. Now, that won't happen right away, especially as we work over the winter, but to know that there is that garage door from the north, obviously that would have, the idea would be that some of the bigger animals can go through, the garages with our gravel drive that goes between the two bigger garage doors. You can take off a horse or a cow and then would have on the north side is our pendant areas. They can go out that smaller garage door to the north and have a fenced in area at some point.
How big is the barn?
The garage, or the actual barn itself, or the whole
No, structure.
Building barn.
structure as a whole. It is going to need some more glasses. Let's see if there's an easy way to check right here. 47 by 80, 97. 40 by 80, I think would be your rough number, 40 by 80.
I see trees have already been removed.
Yes, in process, not, obviously stumps and different process has to go into that as well, to take off these drugs.
So then if we approve this tonight, when would groundbreaking happen?
Some would like to try to get in as early as tomorrow, because we'd like to, across and it's the excavation side of things, it's
Sure.
the land itself and working in that, but the drive, coming from the west side, some of the utilities and different things that we need, we actually need it to come underneath the bus drive there, the driveway.
Sure.
So we wanna rip that up, and it's, not a large section, but just a small section that we could then get those lines underneath before school starts, so then the bus can work its way back. So that's kind of part of the push, is making sure that we get the excavation
Right,
worked in.
yeah, I just was curious, because I saw, work already, and I was like, ooh, is this gonna go up really fast?
That process itself was not anything in this bid.
Sure, right, I figured, yep.
Any other questions?
From a budget standpoint, how did these numbers fall? It sounds like.
It's better than I was anticipating, to be honest with you. I thought we were gonna have to go back to the drawing board, at one point, and these are better than what I should expect in that process. I still, feel that everything in life right now is very expensive. And these are very competitive, in some of the numbers around construction.
Okay. contingency wise, these have contingencies built in for correct overstays and the rest of it. And these are construction GCs that we're using as a correct.
Yep.
Any of the design architects or contractors consulted with anybody who deals in animal buildings?
Yeah, there was, some of the work was down, was a barn in Caledonia that was part of our initial planning process. It might have been Hastings, not Caledonia, but down there. You don't often see barn constructions as far as when they're connected to schools or, fire code is obviously the big thing, right? It sounds so easy, let's just build a barn, but when students are involved, it creates fire code, first impressions, where that's when the price just keeps climbing. And for good, it's safety, although there is the ability for the barn itself to burn down with a firewall that is then in between to the learning space storefront area. So it's one building, but yet it almost acts as two buildings, fire rating, correct, firewalls. Okay.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, those are all in favor. Those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. Motion is approved. Item H, second reading and adoption of Neola policies. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Support?
It's been moved and supported to approve the second reading and adoption of the Neola policy numbers 100, 1410, 2370.01, 2417, 3120.09, 4120.09. I can't believe your motion didn't say all this. 4210, 5136, 6320, 6325, 7540.09, 8120.09, 8402. Jeff.
Yeah, so this is the second reading. We did bring this to the policy committee back on July 13th, 2026, which is Emily, Karen, and Joel, through the different policies. As just kind of running through a lot of it, it is just changes within law, and then some would be just word changes that Neola feels like they want to make sure that they're showing us that they're doing their work with some small word changes. Some of them, like the staff ethics policy, would be for all three groups. In that process, you see some changes to the online blended learning, which that is statewide as well. Volunteers, one of our policies was taken out and then added to another policy as well within that. The wireless communication devices, to make sure that it stays with law or on the cell phone device as well. Just making sure that we're up to our policies around diabetes and 5336 and 504 plan eligibility. Two business related with the 6320 of purchasing and 6325 of procurement of federal grants and funds. There is a replacement for the AI world, and just really talking about how it is something coming towards us and how we're making sure to think about the educational side of things as well. Emergency operations plan and making sure that we note the use of wireless communications within that, and then specialized transportation for students with IEPs.
No changes from the readings last month?
Not from the readings last month, nor from the committee meeting prior to that.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed say no. Motion is adopted. All right, item I is acknowledgement of a receipt of a FOIA fee appeal from Elizabeth Johnson. So don't need a motion for this, but we have received a FOIA appeal. The board is the only body that can receive that appeal and act on it. And so I guess we make a note in the minutes that the board has received it. Next item is I'm going to ask for a motion to go into closed session so we can review comments and notes around that. Formulate a plan and come out of that closed session with an action to act on that deal. So I'll ask ask for a motion to, according to section, or OMA section 8(1)H, to receive written attorney-client privilege communication. Do I have a motion?
Support.
Alright, it's been moved and seconded to enter into closed session to receive written attorney-client privilege communication in regards to the FOIA fee appeal.
And Sarah will do a roll call.
Thank you. That's what I did do that.
Dahl.
Yes.
Francis.
Yes.
Palmer.
Yes.
Newbauer.
Yes.
Rupert.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. Alright, so moved and seconded, roll call vote approving, moving into a closed session. So this will be the end of our, well, let me hit say that. We're going to go into a closed session. Once we're done, it will reopen into an open session. So if anyone is willing to stick around or would like to stick around, we will reopen when this is done. Otherwise, for most people, this will be the end of your ride. So.
Stick on it.